It's the end of the day with Ray. Hello, my friends. You know, I recently put an article out there on LinkedIn. I want to pull it up there on my profile, folks, on my Sharp Interactive board. But the title of the article was Rico bought DocuWare, will they buy PaperCut next? You know, I just got back from the DCA meeting, and I had a chance to talk to dealer owners. I had a chance to talk to OEMs. I had a chance to talk to suppliers, software companies. And, you know, everybody I talk to realizes that the OEMs have to consolidate. That's not rocket science. We're in a declining marketplace that'll never return to the glories of 2000, so the OEMs have to consolidate. And we're all just as amazed that they're not. Even some of the folks at the OEMs are amazed. Yeah, I don't know what we're doing. Because you know what? 1%, 1.3% operating profit's not going to cut it. You know, we're never going to go back to 2000, so we have to do something. We have to consolidate. So if we all agree that the OEMs have to consolidate, how can we not agree, logically, that all the ancillary products around the print industry have to consolidate as well? Corporations like PaperCut, will they be sold? I imagine if the check's big enough. We saw our friends over at Rico gobble up DocuWare. Why wouldn't they buy PaperCut? Why wouldn't they? Not saying they should. I'm just saying they probably would, right? Because it has to consolidate. You know, people are trying to grab revenue. Hell, it was Rico that ran around and said their operating profit would come more out of services than it did out of print, right? Remember that? And then they had to go around and tell everybody they made a mistake. They didn't make a mistake. They just ran around and told everybody what they temporarily needed to hear to calm them down. Because our industry still can't talk about the decline in print. It is quite amazing when you think about it. And so our dealer friends, they need to reinvent themselves. And a lot of the folks at the BTA are talking about reinventing themselves. They're talking about getting into IT security services and IT services and all these things. But sometimes I hear them talk about that, and at the same time, they're talking about how they don't understand how to print a copy machine without a meter. And I think to myself, if you don't understand how to bill your print equipment without a meter, then for gosh sakes, don't get into IT services, because this is way more complicated than that. And your core deliverable of print, I mean, you ought to be able to do that all kinds of different ways. It's your core deliverable. It does amaze me, folks, when I still hear people trying to figure out how to build their print equipment without a meter. It's just nuts to me. At the same time, these folks are going to get into IT services with 1,000 moving parts, so many different variables. It's just something to think about. Get a handle on print without a meter. It's 2021. We've been talking about that crap for the last 4 years. It's not that complicated. Call it next era. They got all the data. They can help you do it. Do it. Anyway, just want to go on that rant. But ladies and gentlemen, our industry needs to have some consolidation. And we need to start thinking about how we're going to reinvent ourselves. And I'm going to tell you that there's been 2 wars that have been fought and won. And the first war was the DCA War, right? We got to have DCA tools out there, blah, blah, blah. Well, guess what? eAutomate, who's owned by ACI, bought up the ones that won that war. Print Audit, right? The most used DCA tools in the whole entire industry. We all know that. And I know there's some folks coming in play and they want to take them out and all these things, but they ought to be starting to think about who are they going to take out in the same space. Maybe build up a really big DCA tool and then go sell it to eAutomate. Folks, we're in a declining marketplace, right? Every single OEM out there is building cloud platforms to allow people to do what? Most of the stuff these DCA tools do. So let's just say that the DCA tool, that war's been won, whether people want to realize it or not, and they want to start these little skirmishes in a declining marketplace. That's fantastic for them, but I don't think it's going to go anywhere. And the other war that was won is the ERP. We all know that, right? What, 12 years? Let's replace the eAutomate. Everybody hates eAutomate. Oh, they're so terrible. Let's replace it with this other one. Well, after 12 years, guess what? They found out replacement at zero advantage. People that did replace it, a lot of them went back to eAutomate. It's not about taking the past and trying to figure out how to deliver the past better. Because the past core deliverable isn't appreciated by your end users anymore like it was 20 years ago. Folks, we got to realize that. It's not about the industry deciding on what these end users are going to do. It's about what the end users are going to do. And they will make those decisions with or without the permission of the document editing channel. They'll make those decisions to print less, They'll make those decisions to buy A4 instead of A3, to pay cash instead of lease. They'll make all the decisions that will completely disrupt the deliverable that made so many of my friends so rich. It will happen, folks. It's already happening. And what we need to be focusing on is how can we change the game and make it completely different? Not about how are we going to collect a meter better than the other guy collects a meter. Come on, folks. How are we going to replenish toner supplies better than the other guy replenishes toner supplies or gal? Folks, come on. It's not rocket science. Those softwares have existed for 10, 15, 20 years. We need to be focusing on how can we deliver a better experience to our end user, and we all know that the end user's experience is determined more and more in that intersection between that digital and physical world. That's why I like our friends over at KRAR, and I'm going to talk about this a little bit. Folks, here's the reality. Instead of figuring out what DCA tool to get, why don't you call up our friends at KRAR and understand augmented reality? Understand AI. Help deliver better experiences to your end users in that intersection between the digital and physical world. Quit trying to figure out how to collect a meter faster. Some of this stuff is pure insanity to me. We need to start thinking way past the box, way past the software that manages the box, and start thinking about software that changes the experience with the end user and the box. We need to start looking at software platforms and programs that change the experience between your end users and the box. And those that can do that successfully will win as our industry completely reinvents itself. I'm looking forward to going to the BTA again in Asheville. I'm going to stir up some more controversy so we can talk about it while I'm there. Ladies and gentlemen, we have got to start thinking past the box. We have got to start having conversations, and some of these conversations are definitely going to be a little bit painful. But if we don't start coming to some realization that our core deliverable of print will continue to be worth less and less and less to us, we're never going to prepare ourselves to replace that revenue, to keep our employees and our associates and ourselves in the comforts we had in the past. We can keep the comforts of the past, but we damn sure can't keep the deliverable of the past for an ever-changing future. Something to think about, my friends, because we all know this. Status quo is the killer of all that'll be invented. Don't get stuck in status quo, and I'll see y'all tomorrow.